Have you ever looked at a really old map? I mean, like a truly ancient one, the kind drawn on fragile yellowed parchment, where sea monsters lurk in the unexplored oceans. I've actually held a few in my time, and there's this strange feeling that comes with them. It's a sense that, the world they show is not quite the world we know today. Look closely at maps from before the 19th century, and you might see something astonishing. Sprawling across the vast expanse of Asia, from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific Ocean, is a word you were never taught in school, Tartaria. It's not just a small town or a minor region. It's depicted as a colossal empire, a global powerhouse. And then, just like that, it vanishes from later maps, as if it were never there. This isn't just one cartographer's mistake. We see this name, this Tartarian empire, on countless maps from different countries and different eras. It's shown with its own borders, its own cities, and even its own flag. Yet if you open a modern history book, you'll find nothing. Not a chapter, not a paragraph, not even a footnote about this once great civilization. It's a historical ghost. It's like finding an old family photograph where a relative has been deliberately cut out of the picture. You can see the space where they once stood, and you're left with this haunting question that sends a shiver down your spine. Who was erased? And more importantly, why? The story begins right there, in the dusty archives and forgotten collections where these maps are stored. They are the first breadcrumb on a trail that leads into one of history's greatest mysteries. These maps aren't just geographical records, they are whispers from the past, telling us that the narrative we've been given might be incomplete. They suggest a world far more complex and interconnected than we imagine. A world where a massive, advanced empire thrived and then was systematically wiped from our collective memory. Following this trail means stepping off the well-trodden path of accepted history and venturing into the unknown, into a story that feels both epic and deeply personal. This journey isn't for the faint of heart, because it forces you to question everything. Every monument you see, every old building in every city, suddenly looks different. You start to see patterns and possibilities that were hidden in plain sight. The world becomes a giant puzzle, and the pieces are scattered all around us. The official story tells us one thing, but these old maps, these silent witnesses, tell another. They invite us to dig deeper, to look past the sanitized versions of history and search for a truth that has been buried, waiting for someone curious enough or brave enough to come looking for it. And believe me, what we find is stranger than any fiction. Once you start looking, you see it everywhere. Take a walk through any of the world's great old cities, from St. Petersburg to San Francisco, from Melbourne to Buenos Aires. Look at the architecture. We're told these grand ornate buildings with their colossal domes, soaring columns, and impossibly large doorways were built in the 18th or 19th centuries with horse and buggy technology. But honestly, something feels off. The sheer scale is breathtaking, almost inhuman. These are magnificent stone and brick structures, palaces and government buildings and train stations that seem over-engineered for the people who supposedly built them. The doors are often 20 feet high, the windows massive, the ceilings cavernous. It's a style we see repeated across the globe, a unified architectural signature that defies geographical and cultural boundaries. Historians call it neoclassical, or Beaux-Arts, or Renaissance revival. But could it be something else? Could it be the remnant of a single global civilization? A civilization of master builders who understood engineering and aesthetics on a level we can barely comprehend today. These buildings feel less like they were built for us and more like we just moved into them after their original owners disappeared. They are beautiful, but they are also empty shells, haunted by the ghost of a grander past. It's like finding a network of abandoned pyramids scattered across every continent. Look closer at the details on these structures. You'll find strange symbols carved into the stone, motifs that don't fit neatly into any known culture. You see intricate metalwork on the rooftops, spires and antennae that seem to serve no decorative purpose. Why would our recent ancestors, who were supposedly just mastering industrial technology, put so much effort into creating buildings that seem designed for a different kind of being altogether? These aren't just buildings, they are artifacts. They are silent monuments to a lost world, a world where cities were built with a harmony and grandeur that we struggle to replicate even with our modern cranes and computer-aided designs. These structures are often called old-world buildings, a term that feels more accurate than we realize. They feel ancient, carrying a weight and a wisdom that transcends their official construction dates. Many of them are made from stone quarried and moved in ways that would be a challenge even today. They stand as a testament to a people who thought on a different scale, who built for eternity. When you stand before one of these palaces or cathedrals, you can't help but feel small. And you can't help but wonder, who were the original inhabitants of this magnificent lost empire? Were they like us, or were they something more? Now let's talk about those strange spires and antennae I mentioned, the ones sitting atop the domes and towers of these old-world buildings. Look at old photographs of city skylines from the late 1800s and early 1900s. You'll see a forest of intricate metal rods, orbs, and etheric antennae reaching for the sky. The official explanation is that they are just fancy lightning rods or elaborate flagpoles. But what if they were something more? What if these weren't just decorations, but functional pieces of a forgotten technology? A technology that harnessed a form of energy that we no longer use, or perhaps no longer understand. The theory is as fascinating as it is revolutionary. It suggests that the Tartarian civilization had mastered the ability to draw energy directly from the atmosphere, from the ether. These grand buildings weren't just places to live or govern, they were power plants. The domes, often topped with metal, acted as capacitors. The towers and spires served as antennae, collecting and distributing clean, free, wireless energy to the surrounding city. It sounds like science fiction, I know, but then you look at the work of inventors like Nikola Tesla, who was obsessed with the idea of wireless power transmission and spoke of tapping into the Earth's natural energy field. Was he rediscovering a lost science? This could explain so much. It could explain the incredible streetlights we see in photos from eras before a widespread electrical grid supposedly existed. It could explain the lack of soot and pollution on these pristine white buildings in old city photographs, suggesting a cleaner energy source than the coal that powered the Industrial Revolution. Imagine a world powered not by burning fossil fuels, but by a gentle, ambient energy that was available to all. It would have been a world without power lines, without utility bills, without the pollution that chokes our modern cities. A world of quiet efficiency and brilliant, gentle light. This lost technology also has a darker side. If such a thing existed, what happened to it? The story goes that this free energy system was a threat to the powerful industrialists who were building their fortunes on coal, oil, and centralized power grids. A world where energy is free is a world where people are harder to control. And so, the technology was suppressed, the knowledge was buried, and the magnificent energy harvesting structures were either torn down or repurposed, their true function forgotten. All we are left with are the silent, deactivated antennae on our oldest buildings, ghosts of a technology that could have changed the world. Every great cover-up needs to control the narrative, and the best way to do that is to control the past. If a global empire like Tartaria was to be erased from history, its records would have to be destroyed. Its books, its maps, its scientific documents, its entire cultural memory. All of it would have to go. And you know, when you look back at history, you find a disturbing pattern of destruction. A series of fires, floods, and unfortunate accidents that seem to have targeted the world's repositories of knowledge at very convenient times. Great libraries and archives burning to the ground, taking with them countless irreplaceable texts. Think of the Great Library of Alexandria, a symbol of ancient wisdom lost to fire. But what if that wasn't an isolated incident? History is just littered with similar events. We hear of great fires sweeping through cities like Chicago, London, and San Francisco, often destroying the very heart of the old city centers where records and historical documents would have been kept. We are told these were tragic accidents, but the timing and frequency raised suspicion. Was this a coordinated effort to wipe the slate clean? To burn the evidence of a previous civilization, so that a new, controlled version of history could be written in its place? It's a chilling thought. Imagine teams of organized saboteurs working in the shadows to ensure that any book mentioning Tartaria, any schematic of its etheric technology, or any photograph of its true society was turned to ash. The knowledge that wasn't burned may have been locked away, hidden in private collections or deep within Vatican archives, far from public view. The history we are taught in schools would then be a carefully curated replacement, a story crafted by the victors who now controlled the world's resources and its energy. They gave us a new past, one that made our modern world seem like the pinnacle of human achievement, not just a shadow of a far more advanced one. This concept of a great reset in the past is central to the Tartarian mystery. It suggests that our timeline was deliberately fractured. The new rulers introduced a new calendar, new systems of measurement, and a new history that disconnected us from our ancestors. They left the grand buildings standing because they were too big to tear down, but they invented new stories about their origins. They became World's Fairs buildings, erected for temporary exhibitions and then left behind, or palaces built by recent kings. The truth, however, remains buried in the ashes, a forbidden knowledge that whispers to us that the world is much older and our past far grander than we have ever been told. So, where does this leave us? We have ancient maps showing a lost empire. We have a global network of colossal, ornate architecture that seems to defy its official origin story. We have tantalizing hints of a forgotten free energy technology, and we have a suspicious history of fires and destruction that could point to a deliberate erasure of knowledge. The clues are everywhere, woven into the fabric of our world. You can see them in old photographs that show pristine, empty cities with magnificent buildings, but very few people, as if the inhabitants had just vanished. Or, photos showing strange, elegant airships floating in the sky long before the Wright brothers. These pieces of evidence challenge the very foundation of our understanding. They suggest that we are a civilization with amnesia, living among the ruins of a far more sophisticated and unified global culture. A culture that understood sacred geometry, building their cities in alignment with cosmic energies. A culture that lived in harmony with the Earth, using its natural frequencies to power their world. This wasn't a primitive past. In many ways, it may have been a more advanced future that we somehow lost. The story of Tartaria is the story of a paradise lost, a golden age that was intentionally buried. The final unsettling question is not just was Tartaria real, but what does its existence mean for us today? If history was rewritten once, it means our reality is more fragile than we think. It means the powers that be may have concealed a truth about human potential that is far greater than we are led to believe. The story of Tartaria is ultimately a story of empowerment. It encourages us to look at the world with new eyes, to question the official narratives, and to reclaim a history that might just be our own. It's a call to remember who we once were, so we can imagine what we could become again. This isn't just a conspiracy theory. It's a doorway to a different way of seeing. It's an expedition into our own past, a search for the ghost of a lost kingdom that may still be all around us. The evidence is not in one single document or artifact, but in the overwhelming weight of 1,000 inconsistencies, 1,000 puzzles hidden in plain sight. The empire of Tartaria may be gone from the maps, but its shadow looms large. It's a silent, haunting reminder that the greatest secrets are not buried in some remote jungle, but right under our feet in the very foundations of the world we call home. We just have to be willing to look.